You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. Apologies for that. I've been refreshing this to make sure that it's working. There's a little bit of a lag, I got to admit, and that scared me to death. So we're not going to. We're just gonna pretend like nothing happened. I was refreshing for those who don't know, I was refreshing the Rumble page because I'm trying. If you didn't get my message yesterday, I'm trying to work with Rumble to be able to actually get my show through their system, right? They have this Rumble Studio, and with the Rumble Studio, you can do some cool things, including monetize your show better, which is something that I've been really trying hard to do. We do okay. Look, I know that I complain probably far too often about it because we're actually doing far better than probably 95% or more of the podcasters out there. But with that said, I live in California. All right, I gotta lift up my revenue as much as possible, unfortunately. And for those before you ask, why don't you just leave California? We are here, and I will leave. We are going to leave as soon as it is medically possible. We have a very particular doctor here that is unique, and we have a health situation in our family that I would have left California long ago, years ago, if it wasn't for the fact that we need to be here at least for probably, Lord willing, only 3 or 4 more years. Oh, I know it sounds like it's forever, but hopefully we'll be out of here before 2030. That's the goal. I want to be out of California before 2030. So we're striving. We're doing the best we can to make this work. Welcome to the JD Rucker Show. I want to apologize up front for those who have noticed, and I know some of you have because I've been getting emails. Yes, we skipped. It turned out to be 3 shows. It was supposed to be 1 show because of technical difficulties. Then we tried to get into this whole Rumble thing, and I will make it work. I'm sure it's going to work. It's just when you're self-producing, there can be challenges, and I think I do a pretty good job of it. I get my show set up. I get everything lined out the way that it's supposed to be, but I'm still having to click the buttons here, click the buttons there, watch this screen, watch that screen. I would love it just to be me, the microphone, the camera, and go, And we're going to get there. I had a wonderful conversation yesterday with a very high potential producer. So just waiting on the official proposal that I will then take to my sponsors, see if they are willing to foot the bill for this, because that would be amazing. I've had producers in the past. Some of them have been okay. One of them in particular was great. Just one minor challenge prevented me from continuing with that particular gentleman and his team. But I'm thinking, pray for me, pray for this company to be able to not only handle the job. I'm sure they can handle the job, but make sure they can handle me. I am apparently, if you break up with one producer, it's like, okay, who knows which way it goes. You break up with 2 producers, it's like, you start thinking maybe you're the issue. Once you get to that 3rd and 4th and 5th producer that didn't work out, it's clear it is me. But at the end of the day, the problem isn't it's not like I can't work with producers. I'm not like some tyrant. Oh, I need to have rose petals falling on me, and I need my soy latte delivered, at exactly 127 degrees. I'm not a diva or anything like that, but I do have expectations when it comes to professionalism. I have expectations when it comes to being able to do the job, right? I don't think that's unfair. The challenge I've always had is I've always done it on a budget. So you get what you pay for, including with producers. But I think, Lord willing, this new potential producer will, number one, work out. Number two, work out. So we shall see. Let's dive into it. Otherwise, let's see. You know, I'm going to start doing something new, by the way. Just to get a feeling, a pulse for what I like to call the normies out there. I rarely go to Google News, but I think we're going to start doing that. And the reason being is because sometimes it is important. I do go to legacy media because I want to see what the word of the day is. What are the normies hearing? But now I'm going to start going to Google News because they do have, unfortunately, they have not good, but they have a finger on the pulse of what the narrative is, what the joint narrative is. I think everybody, at least in my audience, is very well aware that legacy media, they work off a script, and it's not just a script internally within each individual news organization. They work off a script that's sent down to them from the powers and principalities, the globalist elite cabal, whoever it is, uniparty swamp, deep state. Somebody is telling them to say certain things. We've seen, the big one lately for the last few days has been, we are in the midst of a constitutional crisis. Donald Trump and Elon Musk represent a constitutional crisis. And as a result, they're trying to get people to think that, making government more efficient, that's bad. Cutting out waste, that's bad. Okay, that's a constitutional crisis. In reality, the constitutional crisis is coming from the other side of the fence, especially when it comes to the activist judiciary, but we'll be covering that today. We'll also be covering, talking quite a bit about DOGE. It is moving forward, and it's moving forward nicely, I would say. There was a time not too long ago, Sunday maybe, Monday? One of these, just a few days ago, I put out an article, a column, about why I am certain that the lawfare is not going to work. Why it's going to take time, but it's not going to be like we'll be fine. Okay, we're going to make it through this. Trump's going to make it through this. Elon Musk is going to make it through it. Pam Bondi is going to make it through it. There's going to be challenges because right now that's the only card they have to play. Hakeem Jeffries said the other day over the weekend. He said, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out what we can do. What's our strategy? And I don't even know what we can do. They've got the House, they've got the Senate, they've got the White House. What can we do?" And he wasn't asking that question rhetorically. The answer, unfortunately, there are a few other answers, but the primary and the semi-legal, I don't want to call it completely legal, but the semi-legal answer to their problems is lawfare. And that is creating a constitutional crisis. So let's take a look at Google News, see what else the normies of the world are reading. According to this, this is a good one to start with. Associated Press is reporting Trump upends U.S. policy on Ukraine. I like how they frame it. It's all about the framing, okay? It's not just about reporting the news deviously. That's one thing they do. It's not just about oftentimes burying the lead or even eliminating the lead altogether. You'll see that. You won't see it as much anymore, but you saw that before, especially throughout the entire Biden-Harris regime. They would either, whenever there was a major crime, a murder or whatever, and it was perpetrated by an illegal alien, the legacy media would either not report that, or if they did report it, it would be at literally the very bottom, and they would even try to bore you to death with, okay, so that's pretty much all the news. Well, we're going to say a couple more things, but the sky is blue, there's supposed to be wind in the area tomorrow. The perpetrator may have been possibly a migrant. Okay, that's it. They know that a majority, maybe even a vast majority of Americans don't go beyond the first couple of paragraphs when they're reading these articles. Now, I know you explore it thoroughly. I explore it thoroughly. But most people don't. So let's see how they frame this. Trump upends U.S. policy on Ukraine, says he and Putin have agreed to begin talks on whatever. I'm not going to click through to the Associated Press, but they're right off the bat, upends U.S. policy. What is U.S. policy? Is promoting perpetual war in the Middle East as well as, of course, in Europe. Is that what they're saying? So the Associated Press is saying, hey, Trump is trying to negotiate peace with Vladimir Putin, with Ukraine, with Vladimir Zelensky, And that is upending U.S. policy. They are shameless. They're evil. I mean, let's call it what it is. These are evil people. They being either the journalists themselves, or if they're just useful idiots, then the people telling them what to say. Either way, it is pure evil. Let's see, what does WCVB in Boston says? Boston Ukrainians, that's more local. Fox News says, Trump says Russia agrees to immediately begin negotiations to end war on Ukraine. I have, of course, had many challenges, and I continue to have many challenges when it comes to Fox News. I think they're controlled opposition, but with controlled opposition, to be successful, you have to report properly, truthfully, or at least, rah-rah team most of the time. Where, people think that controlled opposition means that they're always going to be bashing Trump or bashing MAGA or bashing America or whatever. That's not the case. Most of the time they're not. That's why it's controlled opposition. They are opposition to our enemies, but they're controlled. In other words, they're only pretending to be. But with that said, every now and then we'll get some really good reporting. Usually we'll get pretty right-leaning reporting. But then you'll get stupid little things. I forgot that who was it? There was I forgot her name now. Goodness. She's the Democrats shill on the news side, which I know there's a lot of them, but she's the primary female Democrat shill who always goes after Trump and anyway, she went after Pete Hegseth, and that turned out to be inaccurate, we'll just say. Bloomberg says Asian stocks rise, bond sell-off. That has nothing to do with that. Okay, got it. What else? About 75,000 U.S. federal workers accept Trump administration buyout. We're going to cover that. That's good stuff there. According to Times Union, Justice Department sues New York over law giving licenses to immigrants. I like how they phrased that one. No, that's not exactly what's happening, but we will cover what is happening. CNN says heavy rain and risk of life-threatening debris flows prompt evacuation warnings in L.A. Now, I was talking to my good buddy Jonathan Rose over at Genesis Gold Group earlier today. He lives up in L.A., and he has had to leave for work 3 hours early because of that. Look, if you're going to live in L.A., you got to leave early. LA is the worst traffic. I've been through DC. DC traffic is bad. Okay, I've been through other cities that are known for bad traffic. Los Angeles is the only place that I know of in the United States of America where I personally experienced full stop on the highway at like 1 a.m. on a Sunday night. I mean, it just, traffic can randomly happen there. I had to live there for 3 months for the aforementioned medical situation. I had to live in the Los Angeles for technically in East Hollywood, which is even worse. I had to live there. That's Adam Schiff's district, or former district, by the way. I had to live there for 3 months with my wife, and it was. I mean, we had to buy a little dinky throwaway car because my SUV just wasn't very practical. Trying to park there, trying to navigate there, so I got a little two-seater. I mean, just a used car, paid cash, it's two-seaters, convertible. Figure why make them break the window if they're going to break into the car? They could just cut right through. Make it easier for them. Don't necessarily make it harder. Make it easier if you are risking something like that. I'm a big fan of fighting crimes in different ways, and one of those ways is to make it's easier to replace, to tape up a roof on a throwaway car than to replace a broken window. Praise God, we didn't get robbed there, at least that we know of. So yeah, that's my life when it comes to that. But anyway, yeah, Jonathan over at Genesis Gold Group said that he's having to change his sleep schedule, go to bed early, and wake up super early so he could leave to get to the office, because otherwise he's just not going to make it. And he had an episode where he was extraordinarily late. So I feel for you. If you live in LA, I appreciate and I feel for your situation. I know that that it's not your fault. I know that it's not just what Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom did recently. It's also what the Democrat Party and even many in the Republican Party, but mostly the Democrat Party, has done to California over the decades. It's horrible. And this really should be the best state. It really should. We got the weather. We got plenty of stuff going for us. There's absolutely no reason why we should be the butt of every joke, why we should be, supposedly if we were a country, we'd be the fifth biggest economy in the world, and yet as a state we can't pay all of our bills, and we keep running into budget deficits, and we can't get anything turned around. I mean, we are not only is California the fifth biggest economy in the world, it's acting like the least responsible economy in the world. And yes, I have to deal with that on a regular basis. But Lord willing, we will be leaving here at some point in the future. All right, let's get to the news. I've got some big stories today, but let's get to some quick news updates. First and foremost, Trump is going to hold a presser on Thursday, tomorrow, or if you're watching on the East Coast, today, presser to reveal names of entities and people involved in government fraud and abuse. Quote, there's no chance that there's no kickbacks going on. And I'm glad that he said it. We knew he would eventually say it, but I'm glad that he has evidence, proof, probably supplied by Elon Musk and DOGE, but possibly by other heads, actual cabinet members or heads of other departments that reveal to him the reality that a good chunk of the spending, and I would argue the biggest reason why so many Democrats and many rhinos, many members of the Uniparty swamp are so vehemently, violently opposed, literally violently opposed to what's happening with DOGE, the corruption that's being upended. They're getting paid. Yeah, I don't have it pulled up. Maybe I'll do a show on it later, or a segment of a show later. But I made a list, and I actually worked on this, and it's unfortunate that I put it on X instead of just putting it on my website and expanding upon it. I got tired. What I did was I sat there and I was like, all right, let's put our minds in the mindset of reasons. What would make me, if I were anybody in government or even anybody in media, what would make me oppose something that is so undeniably good? Okay, we as a nation have so much waste, it's not even funny. We are just, our government, even our people, we are very wasteful compared to what we used to be as a nation. I don't care about, people say, oh, we're wasteful compared to other nations. I don't care. I'm caring about what we were, okay? Great Depression, just before the Great Depression, post-Great Depression. The people who lived, Americans who lived through the Great Depression, and then the years after the Great Depression, between World War I and World War II, I would say that a good chunk of those people would today be considered preppers, because they were doing things to be prepared. They were doing things to preserve food. They were stockpiling things that were useful. They weren't wasting food. They weren't wasting money. They weren't wasting anything. They were trying to be conscientious, because they had to be in many cases. But even those who didn't have to be still were, for the most part. There just wasn't nearly as much waste. Now, of course, today we have tons of waste. Now, it was government that was starting to waste first. That's a whole other story. But the point being is that today our government's wasteful. So I tried to make a list of any of the reasons why. Why would anybody be opposed to this? And it's not just, because they're corrupt or because they're stupid. That's the cop-out answer. I was looking for legitimate reasons why. And I spent way too long on it. I came up with just as an example of some of the crazier ideas that are almost certainly true. You have to figure that some of those who are complaining, who are trying to stop all of this transparency, whether it's transparency from the Department of Justice, transparency through what's happening with DOGE, transparency through the declassifications that are taking place. Why would anybody not want that to happen? And Came up with a lot of reasons. One of those reasons was that they're probably on either the Epstein list or they're on the Diddy tapes or both. I mean, you have to assume that at least some of these people that are screaming so loud, getting so angry about this, they're going to get busted. There was a search phrase, and I will get back to this article in 1 second. Let me take it down. For now, there was a search phrase that is currently exploding. Okay, it is according to Google Trends, it is exploding. More people are searching for it than ever before in history, and it's all centered around one area, one city, where this search phrase is exploding. That search phrase is criminal defense attorney, and the city is Washington, D.C. And this has been happening. This explosion started in mid-January. It's not like it started, in November, right? It didn't start after. I mean, people knew, okay, Trump's going to be doing stuff. It started in mid to late January, over the last couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, is shortly after Trump's inauguration. People started saying, wow, he's really going to do, holy crap, is he going to, oh my gosh, he really is. Oh my gosh, he's going to do it. Quick, go to Google, criminal defense attorney. So Google uses a scale, right? They use a scale from 0 to 100 as far as popularity of a term, okay? The second city, highest city, I don't remember where it was. It might have been Baltimore, as a matter of fact, which would be funny. But the second highest city was a 32 on this list, okay? On like Google rated that search term as a 32 out of 100 in popularity. In Washington, D.C., it was 100 out of 100. Now, to achieve 100 out of 100, that means a crap ton of additional searches are being done. Like, it has to explode, and it did. Just a little funny aside there. Let's get back to this article. So, President Trump announced he will be holding a press conference today, if you're on the East Coast, on Thursday, to release a list of names of entities and people involved in government fraud and abuses. This comes one day after Elon Musk said DOGE was investigating how government workers mysteriously accrued millions of dollars. And we've asked this before. We've asked on the show. You've asked it yourself. How does somebody who goes into office at, say, a lot of times, let's face it, a lot of times they're wealthy, maybe a little wealthy. Who was I looking at the other day? Oh, gosh. Oh, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, when she was elected, her net worth was around $5.6 million, if I recall. And with her approximately $180,000 a year salary, she's taken that $5.8 million and taken it over $30 million. How's that happen? I mean, you start doing the math. Okay, so she's been there a long time. Let's say she's been there for 10 years, and it's been longer than that. But let's say she's been there for 10 years. That would be, and she didn't spend anything. She just took her $180K and just popped in the bank. That'd be $1.8 million. So then that would put her at what, $7.4 million, if my math isn't absolutely awful. No, $7.6 million. It was awful. That puts her at $7.6 million. So where did the other $22.4 million come from? Or actually more than that. Where? I mean, did she pull a Nancy Pelosi and have her variation of husband Paul go out there and make very, very prescient, very accurate stock trades? Was it that? Was she getting paid on the side by this group, that group, some other group? Who knows? Well, the answer to the question, that last question, the question being who knows, Lord willing, we will know. I'm very hopeful that they can uncover that. And it's not just about politicians. I would argue that it's not just members of Congress or governors or presidents, past presidents or whatever. I would say that where the real corruption is, where they're really going to find that people are stealing I mean, let's call it what it is. Kickback is stealing. If I were to say, okay, so we're going to grant your company this contract for $10 million a year, and I want $1 million of that, or I want $100,000. We only have to, I just want 1%, just 1% of that. 1% for the little guy, because we got to pay the big guy 10%. So 1% for the little guy. What does that come to? Well, $100,000 of your $10 million contract. Great. Here's the account in the Caymans. I'm hopeful that we can find that, and I would argue that we're going to find. My guess, not argument. I'm guessing that we will find bureaucrats are more corrupt than elected officials. Not because they're any worse than elected officials. It's because elected officials just have a bit more scrutiny. There has never been real scrutiny. Outside of the inspectors general, there's never been real scrutiny on the bureaucrats. And we already know that the inspectors general, there's a reason why a good chunk of them have been fired. Now, you could say that there's congressional oversight, but congressional oversight is timed and slow and easy to get around, obviously. You just have to, okay, I know I told you it was 1%. I needed to be 2% because I gotta get my buddy Adam in Congress, or now in the Senate. I got to get Adam some money so he doesn't look too deep into it. He has the right committee. You get the idea there. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow we will start to learn more, and in the coming days, weeks, months, hopefully not years, Lord willing, it'll be a lot faster than that, but we will get to see where a lot of the corruption is. Here's a quote from Elon Musk that he said on Tuesday. We do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have essentially a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position. Do they have a side job? They're waiting tables at TGI Fridays or something? I mean, I don't know. I do know, and so do you. He continued, we're just curious as to where it came from, whether they have very good investing, in which that case we should take their investment advice perhaps. They seem to be mysteriously getting wealthy, and we don't know why. Where did it come from? I think the reality is that they are getting wealthier at the taxpayer expense, and that's 100% certain. You don't have to say I think. We know that's the case. One way or the other, there's many ways to skin that particular cat. Okay, some of it's direct payments, some of it's kickbacks, some of it is stock advice, some of it is just a little bit of maybe gift here or there. Maybe some of it is just, hey, we're going to hire your cousin. Your cousin's going to give 10% to you there, medium-sized guy. Not quite the big guy. That's say for Joe and Bill and Hillary and Barack and Michelle, and those are the big guys. But even retired or even current members of Congress or the Senate, or governors or whoever, or bureaucrats, whatever. And that's the reason that I say it like that, by the way. To be clear, how does this work? How could it be that there could be that much corruption and nobody knows about it? It's not that nobody knows about it. It's that they all know about it. They all know. And they're all the ones that could influence it are getting paid. I'm talking about the Mitch McConnells of the world. Okay, there's a reason why he's not just completely lost yet. He's getting there. He's close. But even when he wasn't lost, he was corrupt. He was awful. He was doing the bidding, working on behalf of, as one of the leaders of, the Uniparty swamp, doing their bidding to try to slow down Trump as much as possible. Nothing pissed me off more during Trump's first term. There was a lot of things that made me upset. But the one thing that made me upset, if you really wanted to chap my khakis, if you wanted me to need to put a trigger warning on myself, it was those people that were saying, oh, look, Cocaine Mitch is out there. He's getting all these judges confirmed. He's going to break the record. I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, are you guys serious? Okay, he didn't build the wall. He stopped the wall from getting built. He and his buddies, including John McCain, prevented Obamacare from being repealed, even though he had somehow managed to magically repeal Obamacare like 50 times, including clean repeals. He was able to get that passed easily and smacked right down on Barack Obama's desk. He's like, here you go. Veto this one. Okay, it's vetoed. We did it. We tried, folks. We did our best. Then they get a Republican president. It's like, well, we can't just do any of the things that we've already done 50 times because he might actually sign it. So I guess we're just going to have to, McCain's retiring soon anyway. Just get John will upend it. And he did. He did. That was Mitch McConnell. And as far as, it's true. He got a lot of judges confirmed. You know what that requires, by the way? Getting judges confirmed as the Senate Majority Leader. It requires being able to write a schedule. The intense skill set that got so many conservatives so excited about Mitch McConnell for whatever reason. That thinking, he's on our side because he's getting these judges confirmed. It's literally having the skill set of an assistant manager at a fast food joint. That's it. Got to be able to, okay, we're going to have a vote on this day and this day and this day. And he wasn't even doing any of that. It was all of his staff. Okay, he's not sitting there doing literally anything. Nothing. If he didn't show up at all, if he slept in the back and just voted when he needed to vote, then the exact same number of judges would have been confirmed. So don't tell me that he did anything. Don't call him Cocaine Mitch. He's one of the ringleaders of the Uniparty swamp. In other words, he is against the United States of America. He opposes your freedoms. He opposes my rights. He opposes the success of the United States of America, which is why, hey, nobody seems to point out that he has received more money from Big Pharma than anybody, any other senator. It must be Chuck Schumer or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or whoever. They get a lot, but they're nothing compared to Cocaine Mitch. They own him. You know who else owns him? The Chinese Communist Party. This is why he is so compromised. He's compromised. Gosh, how did I get on that rant? That was not intentional. I did not mean to make this a Mitch McConnell thing. Oh, right. I was saying no, that's not it. What was I? See, maybe I'm glitching. Maybe I'm having a Mitch McConnell moment. Just stop me if I ever start going and then I stop all of a sudden and don't say a word for like 30 seconds. Just cancel the show. Okay? Just cancel the show. But the chances of me not saying a word, I talk in my sleep. Okay. I could talk after the show, before the show. Just keep talking about random stuff when it comes to politics, culture. Oh, by the way, real quick, I will say this before let's go ahead and you guys get the idea. There's a hearing tomorrow. Trump's gonna blow the whistle on a bunch of corrupt people and organizations. Awesome. Can't wait for that. So just as I guess you could call it a quick sort of side note, unfortunately, we are no longer with Frank's speech. I know, I was super excited about it. I felt blessed, but we didn't make the cut. I'm not going to say who beat us out. I will say that they should have beat us out. They were good. They have a bigger audience than I do. So I have no hard feelings at all about not being on there, because if I had the choice between the JD Rucker Show and this other show that has a bigger audience than mine, I would have taken the other show. I would have. So I have no hard feelings for them at all. But I would ask that you give me a thumbs up wherever you're watching. I would ask that you subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And if you want to find other places to subscribe to me, you can go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. And spread the word. We want to get this show to as many people as possible, because we talk about important stuff. We're going to continue to talk about important stuff. So, but I will no longer be on Lindell TV. Very sad time. But to show that I have no hard feelings, I'm going to play a message from my good friend.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Sorry, clicking and drinking at the same time. Friends don't let friends click on swoosh buttons and drink coffee at the same time. Otherwise, they might do it prematurely. I was trying to drink real fast, but then I clicked with the other hand. It was just a disaster. So we saw how Google News and the Associated Press, how they were framing the entire Putin thing, right? Well, let's look at how Zero Hedge, Tyler Durden over there frames it. According to his article, their article, Tyler Durden is a they, by the way, and not like in a pronoun fashion. It is more than one person writing under that pseudonym. Just a little tidbit. Putin invites Trump to visit Moscow in highly productive call ready for peace. And this is recently updated. Just on the heels of the historic Putin call, President Trump has revealed an outline of his call with Ukraine's President Zelensky, calling it a meaningful conversation. He had earlier vowed to inform Zelensky of the contents of the Putin phone call at a moment European allies are stressing that there can be no peace deal without Ukraine's direct input and participation. And I agree. Look, I'm not a fan of Vladimir Zelensky, but it's his country. You know, I mean, he is sort of the rightfully elected. Not really. Well, he's okay. So he was installed, and he's holding on to power longer than he should. But either way, okay, he's what the Ukrainians have, and they have the right to know what's happening. That they need deals. They need to participate in their own peace plan. So I'm glad. I agree with that part. Trump said a meeting with Vance, Rubio, Zelensky has been set up for Friday. Nice. Trump says it is time to stop the Ukraine-Russia war. No Ukraine deal without Ukraine and Europeans. That means the French, the German, and the Spanish foreign ministers. Okay, I don't disagree with that either. Trump has pledged that talks to end the war will start immediately. Wednesday marks the first known conversation between Trump and Putin since the new U.S. president entered office last month. And we can assume that maybe on the backside, the back channels, they probably talked. You know, Vladimir Putin, he probably said, hey, you know, congratulations at the very least, because as much as Vladimir Putin is just inherently a bad guy, he's also inherently a good guy in many ways. He's that enigma, right? I mean, he is our enemy, but he's also our friend to some extent. I mean, it's weird. I got into a debate one time, not debate, it was like about a 30-second argument with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny about that. You know, she views Putin as amazing, awesome, always doing the right thing. I view Putin as Putin does what's best for Russia. That's it. And if that means that he's on our side on an issue, then he's an ally. If what's best for Russia is to be opposed to us, then he's an enemy. Okay? Do I think that he's actively trying to take down the United States of America? No, but I think that he wants to have the ability to do so, which is why they do certain things. But we can discuss them anyway later. Right now, we're focused on peace. Right now, he is hopefully our friend. U.S. President Trump and Russian President Putin held a nearly hour and a half call this morning which the U.S. president described as lengthy and highly productive. Trump said on Truth Social that both leaders had extended invitations of visiting each other's nations, while the U.S. leader said he would be calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky right now, which he did. And as he posted on Truth Social, I just had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. I like how I threw that one in, the power of the dollar, because, of course, Russia and BRICS are trying to upend SWIFT, thanks to Joe Biden's idiocy, trying to raise the status and the power of the BRICS nations, in particular, Russia and China. They are the core of BRICS. They are trying to become the alternative, and they want to become the primary world reserve currency. They want to replace the dollar. So I'm glad that Trump noted that. He did talk to him about the power of the dollar. In other words, back the truck up. And various other subjects. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people and we likewise lost so many. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have in working together. But first, as we both agreed, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiating immediately, and we will begin by calling Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. I have asked, and we already covered all that. Yeah, so good stuff there. Good stuff. You know, we want peace in Ukraine. We want to stop sending them aid. We shouldn't have sent them any aid to begin with. I'm not talking about, post-war humanitarian aid or whatever. But we have, as a nation, NATO as well, as an alliance, many members of the European Union, we have all participated in extending this war. This war should have been over long ago. This war should have been between Russia and Ukraine. They're not a member of NATO. They have no alliance with us. As a matter of fact, President Clinton promised that they would never be in NATO, that there would never be any neighboring nations to Russia in NATO. Of course, that turned out to be false. Almost all of them became members of NATO. And that was the red line. Ukraine has been the red line for Vladimir Putin for a long time. I've told this story before, and I have to keep repeating it probably once every 6 months or so, because it just never got nearly enough coverage. But after the war started, Zelensky he went on CNN, and he told them that the Biden regime and NATO itself, both, he named them both, had told him, this was before the war started. Sorry. The interview was after the war started, but the conversation that he had was before the war started. He had met with members of the Biden administration and members of NATO and said, we need to get in NATO. And they said flat out, no. They said, no, you cannot, we are not going to let you be a part of NATO. But we want Russia to think that you are going to be a part of NATO. In other words, we're telling you no because we're just being open with you. But you can't tell anybody that the answer is no. As far as you're concerned, as far as the rest of the world is concerned, the answer is maybe, or someday, or soon. But not no. They knew. And they either conned or somehow subverted Vladimir Zelensky into thinking that the best course of action was to lie about his potential membership in NATO. They wanted this war. Zelensky was a pawn at the best case scenario for him. He was just an idiot. He could have been involved. The whole CNN interview might have been intended to upend anything, to give him self-cover. But I think that realistically, he was just a useful idiot. And they told him that, and he believed them, not knowing that if he had just said, yeah, I spoke to NATO, I spoke to the Biden-Harris regime, and it turns out that Ukraine is not going to be a part of NATO. If he had said those words, there's probably about an 80, maybe 90% chance. 80%. We'll say 80% chance that Russia never would have invaded. They invaded as one of their primary reasons for invading. Not the only reason, by the way. But one of the primary reasons they invaded was because the storyline at the time was that they were going to become a part of NATO. And if that was going to be the case, then Putin needed to get his people, the Russians, the Ukrainians that are pro-Russian, he needed to get them protected. That's a discussion, a geopolitical discussion for another day. But the point is, now we're heading towards peace. Now, with President Trump talking to Vladimir Putin, with Marco Rubio, who, again, I've been very impressed with so far. Didn't really like him as a senator, but seems to maybe have found his calling. We'll see. We'll see. If he can pull this one off, then I think that his legacy is established right off the bat. Speaking of legacy, President Trump said the other day that, and it was funny the way he said it. I wish I don't have the clip. I wish I had the clip because I think it was actually very hilarious how he said it. He basically said, I think the Hamas needs to go ahead and release all the hostages. They should do it. How about Saturday by noon? I mean, it seemed as, and I don't think this was the case. I think it was all planned, but it seemed as if the way that he was wording it, it's like, oh yeah, let's do. I'll be golfing on Saturday. Let's do it Saturday, okay? That way, if they don't do it, then between holes 8 and 9, I can send out a post and tell Israel to end the ceasefire. Yeah, that should work out perfect. So let's do Saturday at noon. I'll put it on there and I'll get an alert, and when it goes off, I'll go find out what's happening. And hey, the hostages get released. No, okay, ceasefire is over. I mean, those weren't his exact words. They weren't even close to his exact words. I took a whole lot of editorial liberty there, but that's the feeling that I got from it. And the question was, what would Israel do? Would they agree? I mean, it's their country. This ceasefire was, obviously helped along before he was even inaugurated, helped along by President Trump. But how would they react? Well, we have our answer. Now, according to justthenews.com, Netanyahu threatens to withdraw from ceasefire if hostages aren't released by Saturday. Huh. There you go. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is threatening to continue his country's war against Hamas in Gaza, breaking the ceasefire deal with the group if it doesn't release hostages by a Saturday deadline. And Trump's words were all of the hostages, all of them. We'll see how bullish Netanyahu and Israel are in that regard. Quote, and he posted this on X on Tuesday, if Hamas does not return our hostages by Saturday noon, the ceasefire will end and the IDF will return to intense fighting until Hamas is finally defeated. Al-Qassam Brigades, the armed wing of Hamas, which governs the Gaza Strip, said Monday the hostage release would be postponed until further notice. Following a meeting with Jordan's King Abdullah II on Tuesday, President Donald Trump predicted Hamas likely would not release the hostages. I don't think they're going to make the deadline, personally. Trump said, according to the Associated Press, they want to play tough guy. We'll see how tough they are. Those aren't the words, by the way, that you want to hear from President Trump. I don't care who you are, okay? I don't care if you're China or Russia or Iran or North Korea, let alone if you're Hamas, which you've already been decimated, your ranks have been decimated by Israel. You really want to get the U.S. involved? Now, I'm not cheering for that at all. Why are we talking about it? Okay? I mean, this should be a matter of, okay, we set up the peace deal now, okay, do your thing, Israel, do your thing, Hamas. Our work here is done. Mic drop. See you later. Get it fixed. I'm not crazy about Trump hopping in there, but I think it might have been the other way around. In other words, I think it's very possible that Netanyahu said, hey, our hostages there, They're every day, we're getting them back, but they're hurting. We're getting reports that some of the hostages that we think are alive are actually dead. We need to escalate this. Do you mind just saying something? I'm not accusing either Netanyahu of saying that or Trump of doing that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Is it equally possible, probably even more possible, that President Trump just said, you know what, this is taking too long, let's speed this up. We need peace in the Middle East, so let's set a deadline. We will see. We'll also see, perhaps more importantly, how everybody reacts. And when I say everybody, I'm talking specifically about Iran, their proxies in Hezbollah. We'll see what happens in Syria. Now that Turkey has a very direct interest there, are they going to get involved? It's also very precarious that Jordan and Egypt, I almost don't want to put this into words, but let's go ahead and say it. I would not be shocked if we see another attack against Israel. Now, I'm not talking about one like October 7th. I'm talking about one like the Yom Kippur War. Okay? I'm talking about where many, if not all, of Israel's enemies, which surround the nation, if they wouldn't attack. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. Not because they don't want to, but because of President Trump. I think that they know and they're scared. They wouldn't do it, not on his watch. I would say with a near certainty that if Kamala Harris had won, that Israel would already be under attack. Seriously. I really do think that would be the case. I also think that she would not do anything to help them. I know there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people in my audience, a lot of people in the world are all looking forward to a day when Israel falls. I personally back Israel as our ally. Now, I'm not, people, I like how there's always that jump. If you support Israel, that means you're Israel first. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I don't think we should send Israel any aid. If they want to buy stuff, they got money. If they want to buy stuff, great. We'll sell them weapons all day. We'll sell Saudi Arabia weapons all day. Okay? But I don't think that they need aid, that we should be sending taxpayer dollar funded anything to anybody else, to be clear. Not just Israel or Ukraine, to anybody. Call me an isolationist. Call me whatever you will. But with that said, in the battle between Hamas and Israel, yeah, I'm backing Israel. Okay? In the battle between Iran and Israel, I'm backing Israel. And if Egypt attacks, Jordan, and I don't think any of them would attack unless all of them attacked, but if that were to be the case, then yes, unfortunately, sadly, we would have to, in my humble opinion, back Israel. And I'm not going to be humble about that one. That one, we'll see if a bunch of people send me hate mail. They probably will. It happens every time. If I say the word Israel, it's like, oh my gosh, you're one of those, Islamophobic, whatever. I don't even know what you want to call it. I generally don't read those, by the way. As soon as I see, you're a Jew lover, it's like, what? They're an ally. Okay? They're an ally not just to the United States of America, but don't even get me started on the biblical implications. And then but I don't ever bring that up because I'll get the arguments, well, they're not really the Israel of the Bible, and then there's it gives me a headache. It really does. So I'm not even going to go down that road. Let's get to some good news. I don't want this to turn negative. I don't want everybody yelling at me. We got some good news across the board. This story comes to us from the National Pulse. Who is this? Who's the writer? William Upton. Okay. Bill. We call him Bill. Federal judge reinstates President Trump's buyout offer to federal employees. I think I have this as the top story over at thelibertydaily.com right now, or the headline story, which would make sense. Yeah, this is big because for those who don't know the background, and I know it's hard, it used to be, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people aren't able to keep up with all the news. There's not that much of it. Nowadays, it's like, dude, I can't keep up with all the news. There's just so much of it. It just keeps coming. But this one I did catch. Praise God. So, for those who don't know, the obviously President Trump and DOGE and just the Trump administration in general declared, "Hey, you want to leave? Leave. We'll buy you out. We'll pay you a very lucrative 8 months. We'll pay you tons of pay. You're good to go. Just don't go away, man. Just go away. That sort of day, and make it all. It's your choice. Hey, if you want 8 months worth of pay, that puts you ahead. You can go get a job in the private sector. You'll still. We're going to pay you for 8 months, and you can get another job, or you can sit back and you can go to the Bahamas or whatever. You do whatever you want. Just get out of governments. Long term, we don't want to pay you." So he made that offer. I know in the article, I believe it says 65,000, but I think the number is actually up to 75,000 as of this live broadcast. But yeah, so as soon as that was announced, though, within 2 days, some judge said, "No, you can't do it. You can't offer people money to leave their job. That's somehow unconstitutional because I'm being told that by the Democrats." Why are they so opposed to, hey, we don't want workers to have the right to leave and get paid, take an offer made by their employer to make a lot of money. Why do they hate us so much? U.S. District Court Judge George O'Toole has reinstated Donald J. Trump's buyout offer to federal workers under the Fork in the Road Deferred Resignation Program. The judge ruled the government unions who filed a lawsuit seeking to block the program lack legal standing and that his court lacks the judicial jurisdiction to even rule on the matter. Last week, Judge O'Toole delayed the deadline for federal workers to accept the buyout offer, originally slated for February 6th at just before midnight, until he could hear arguments from both the plaintiff and the Trump administration on the matter. The Fork in the Road Deferred Resignation Program offers government employees 8 months of pay and benefits in exchange for their voluntary resignation at a preset date in the fall of 2025. So that is back on the tail, full steam ahead. Again, we were up to 75,000, and that's a good number. I honestly, I would have expected it to be more. There are some great, just rosy, cozy, beautiful government jobs out there where they make a lot of money for doing a little work. There's far too many of those. But I figured that there would be way more than 75,000 people who don't like their job or who could use the extra money up front, being able to leave your job, still get paid by your job, still have the benefits from your job, and then also get a separate job in the private sector or, as I mentioned, go to the Bahamas or do whatever. I really thought there would be more people than this. But 75,000 is still a good number. It's a good start. Hopefully, it's not the end of it. Let's see, do we have time? Short break. Yeah, short break. And then when we get back, talk about Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi. Some good stuff and some bad stuff. Just warning you ahead of time. It's not all good. It's mostly good. But it's not all good. We'll be right back. Last year, my long-term storage food company, Prepper Farms, was partnered with and actually owned by another corporation. I know that nobody knew this. Very few people were even aware that this was the case because our production, our systems, everything was in place and working just as it should be. People would go, they would put in promo code JDR at prepperfarms.com. They would receive the maximum possible discount, as always, and then they would get their long-term storage beef. What you didn't know and what we can now explain now is that this year in 2025 we have gone back to the original ownership structure, and I'm very excited about that because that puts me finally back more in charge, and I am super excited about that concept, not because I crave power by any means, but because I feel that as an America First veteran-owned company that we need to focus on helping Americans to prepare for whatever is to come, whether it's natural disasters or emergencies or de-dollarization, food crises, bird flu, whatever it is. We do expect something to happen, which is why we built prepperfarms.com in the first place. The idea here is to get high quality, all American, all Texas beef, the good stuff, ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, all of that good stuff, and freeze dry it naturally to give it a 25-year shelf life. We don't add any preservatives. There's only one ingredient, and that's beef. Lasts 25 years in the bag, and that's awesome. So support this show, support me, support yourself and your family. Protect yourself for the future by stocking up on long-term storage, high-quality beef. Go to prepperfarms.com. That's prepperfarms.com. Use promo code JDR, and you will receive the maximum possible discount. You know, I was trolled by a listener, viewer the other day. I think it was on Rumble. He was in the chat saying, "Oh, it's so pathetic. Nobody else is chatting in here." I understand. I watch a few, not a lot. I should watch more, but I do watch a few various shows on Rumble, and I never chat, so I get it. But just wanted you to know that you can. If you're out there, if you can hear the sound of my voice, you need to do 3 things. Number 1, subscribe if you have not already. Number 2, like. There we go. What was number 2? Like the video. Thumbs up. And number 3, send me money. No, I'm just kidding. Number 3, if you want to, if you feel so obliged, do a shout out in the live chat, and I will call your name out and sing your praises or make fun of you if you are mean and rude. So that's your call. So Pam Bondi came out. I had a press conference, and I'm going to play 40 seconds of it, 30 seconds, 33 seconds, I think, whatever, 36. I think it's 36 seconds. Anyway, I've noticed this before today's press conference, and I'm just going to say it. The bad, and this is the only bad so far, the bad about Pam Bondi is that she gets nervous. She's not a great communicator. Now, you might say I'm nitpicking here because, standing up in front of the press, it can make anybody stutter. But there was a potential mistake that she made. Possible. It seems like likely mistake that she made during her press conference today, and I'm going to play it, and you tell me if you hear it.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
Okay, maybe I am being a little bit too harsh. She sounded okay. I'm not gonna rip on her too bad. But she said that she had filed charges. Did she really? There's mixed responses here, and I have not seen a correction. We will see if she filed charges or a lawsuit, because those are 2 different things. Criminal charges, much bigger deal than if she just filed a lawsuit. She had mentioned Illinois, and that was a lawsuit. There were no criminal charges filed. Is she really filing criminal charges against the state of New York? I don't think so. That would be weird. Is she really filing criminal charges against the governor? Now, she should file criminal charges against Letitia James. Let's just throw that out there. That's a no-brainer there. But we got the story over at Red State. Attorney General Pam Bondi files quote-unquote charges against state of New York Governor Hochul over illegal aliens. And once again, I hate to say it about Red State, but I think they buried the lead. The big one here to me is Letitia James. Okay? That's the one. I think that she's the primary target here. I really do. I think that suing or filing charges or whatever they're doing with Kathy Hochul is more, just because window dressing, just setting the stage for when they go after Gavin Newsom. They're already going after J.B. Pritzker, but I do believe they will go after Gavin Newsom. They'll probably go after Phil Murphy. Okay, they're going to go after a lot of these guys. A lot of Democrats that are in their states, they're breaking the law. I mean, that's what it is. Oh, and they're also going after Mark Schroeder. And I have no idea who Mark Schroeder is. Apparently, he is the Department of Motor Vehicles Commissioner. So welcome to the big stage, Mark. You finally made it. Mama would be proud. There's the press release, according to Bondi. We already read all that. The charges, quote unquote, as Bondi described, accuse New York and its officials of violating federal immigration laws. To be clear, I would actually think, oh, maybe they really are filing charges, except to include the state of New York. You can't file charges against a state, okay, against the government of the state. You can sue a government, though. So we'll see. We will see. Pam continued, President Trump has directed this to stop, this being the allowance of basically subverting ICE and protecting, defending illegal aliens, especially criminal and oftentimes violent illegal aliens, protecting them at the expense, not just financial expense, but oftentimes at the deadly expense of American citizens, as we've seen far too many times over the last 4 years. President Trump has directed this to stop, and if you don't comply with federal law, we will hold you accountable. We did it in Illinois. Strike one. Strike two is New York. And if you are a state not complying with federal law, you're next. So get ready. Bondi was only confirmed a week ago. It certainly hasn't taken her long to take control. And that's part I like. Look, I've been, I would say above lukewarm, but not excited about Pam Bondi. I would have rather had Matt Gaetz. Okay. That's just me. But Pam Bondi is a fighter. We know that. Pam Bondi is somebody who went after the fraudsters during the 2020 post-election debacle. She tried to expose massive widespread voter fraud in Pennsylvania, and didn't just try, like she didn't just send out a post. She actually went there physically. She went there to take action. So that part I definitely admire. Now there are other aspects of Bondi that kind of, again, I'm not saying that she's like lukewarm milk toast. I've never been super excited about her. But if this keeps up, who knows? Maybe I could change my tune. I can get excited about somebody very easily if they start doing the right thing. I'm very forgiving in that way, but also people can lose me very quickly if they start doing the wrong thing. Believe it or not, this is, confession time, but there was a brief moment, for the first few months when a particular congressman was in office where I thought, man, this guy's rising star. This guy's, he's demonstrating real leadership, and he seems to be very capable of communicating, and he seems to be very, very conservative, and totally not a neocon. And that person ended up being Dan Crenshaw, who turns out is like the worst of the neocons. He's Liz Cheney, but male. I mean, he's awful. He's horrible, and but I soured on him. I'm okay with that. I think that a lot of times we as especially when it comes to politics, we have a hard time acknowledging when we're wrong. And nobody's right 100% of the time. Nobody. I don't care who you are. Everybody gets it wrong sometimes. I get it wrong sometimes. You get it wrong sometimes. Sometimes we think we like somebody and they turn out to be awful. Sometimes we don't like somebody and they turn out to be great. Look, I thought, just as another side example here, I fully expected John Fetterman, before he was elected, I fully expected him to become one of, if not the most radical leftist member of Congress. I really thought, Senate. I really thought that would be the case. He's not. I mean, as it turns out, and maybe it's because he's in Pennsylvania, maybe he's doing it for political expediency, maybe he's seen the writing on the wall, maybe something happened with his stroke, I don't know. But as it turns out, he's probably, I would say, one of the top 2 or 3 most sane, or at least closest to being sane, Democrats in the Senate. So we can occasionally get it wrong. Back to the article. This being the so-called charges, this shouldn't come as a huge surprise to any of the blue state officials named in any of these suits. Border Czar Tom the Hammer Homan has not been shy about proclaiming that any state, city, or other local officials who attempt to impede federal officials in their task of locating, detaining, and repatriating illegal aliens would face federal charges. Attorney General Bondi would appear to be serious about this as well. That's as it should be. President Trump made mass reparation. No. See, even I make mistakes. Made mass repatriations an issue in his campaign. He spoke long and repeatedly on the topic, and a considerable percentage of Americans in recent surveys support that effort. So yeah, again, we'll see if it is charges, especially if it's against Letitia James. I am all for it. I just, sell me a ticket, take my money, give me a popcorn, and I will watch that movie all day. Okay. I will watch that trial, everything that I can. I'll absorb it all, and I'll love every minute of it, all the way to the guilty verdict and imprisonment for Letitia James, because I do believe, as Steve Bannon noted yesterday, by the way, I do believe that she is amongst top 5 greatest existential threats against President Trump. Not necessarily because she's so special, but because of who she is and where she is. She is a radical leftist prosecutor who is fearless when it comes to, she doesn't care apparently about her reputation. She doesn't care about any of that stuff. I mean, she as far as what the world would think of her, she only cares about her base, which is important, because number 3 thing that makes her dangerous is that she's in an area, she's in a city where she has, or state rather, where she has nothing to fear. She really has nothing to fear, politically speaking. So she is dangerous. She has an immense amount of power. She has a jury pool that is, as left as you can get. She can do a lot of damage. So I do want to see her stopped. Now, if she didn't commit a crime, fine. I'm not saying that we should manufacture our crimes against anybody. We're not Democrats here. But if they do find that she committed a crime, then she needs to do the time. All right, let's get on to the main subject of today's show. Only an hour and 12 minutes in, and we're already to the main subject, and that is DOGE. I know I've touched on it a bit, but things are starting to materialize. Things are starting to really come into focus. And I would argue that DOGE, which I said long before Inauguration Day, I said that there's a potential that DOGE could be the most consequential agency, appointment, whatever you want to call it, that it could be the most consequential element of the federal government in decades. And I think it's unambiguously accurate, that statement. Because right now, if DOGE is allowed to continue to do what they're doing, if they continue to expose what they're exposing, they continue to cut what they're cutting, then who knows? Maybe we as a nation might be able to actually survive, because things weren't looking very good before. Even compare this to even Trump's first term. I would argue that what DOGE and President Trump, to be clear, it's not like he's a passive participant. He is actively engaged in this. He's looking at this as a weapon for him to wield, and to wield very adeptly, with the help of Elon Musk. And the reason that it's working, by the way, before we get into the information, the reason that it's working is the people that are involved. Okay, we'll start at the top. Between President Trump and Elon Musk, you have 2 men who made a lot of money. You might say, what does that have to do with this? That business acumen is so important considering the state of affairs in the United States of America. There may, Lord willing, there will come a time, just as there has been in the past, where we can be run by statesmen, where we can be run by actual, real whatever. I hate to say politicians, but true, government animals. Neither Elon Musk nor President Trump are government animals. They're businessmen at heart. And that's exactly what we need as a nation right now. We need the nation to be fixed. And the only way we can fix it is not through a political process. The only way we can fix it is with the principles and tenets that are associated with business. It wasn't coincidental that Elon Musk, the memo that he sent out saying, hey, if you want to quit. It's not a coincidence that the email was titled Fork in the Road. That title was used for another group of people well before DOGE even existed. That was the email that Elon Musk and his team sent to Twitter employees back in the day, shortly after he bought the social media giant. He called it a fork in the road, and he made a very similar offer. Hey, if you want to leave, leave. And that's not the only thing that they're doing. They're basically, what he did with Twitter is take it, tear it down, and then build it back up bit by bit, piece by piece, element by element. Get rid of the bad people, keep as many of the good people as possible. But here's the thing, and this is important to understand. In that process of getting rid of the bad people, you're going to lose some good people. That's a side effect. That's collateral damage. It's going to happen. You can't be that exact, because the only way that you could be that exact is to be slow and methodical. And we don't have time for that. I mean, we can't just take a scalpel to it. We need to get a big honking axe and a chainsaw and an army of beavers to chop down this forest. And if we lose some good trees along the way, that sucks. Hopefully, there will be ways to get them back in, to get them back involved, to get them reinstated, or whatever. But you have to take an axe and a chainsaw and an army of beavers to it, because the waste, the inefficiency, the ineptitude amongst many government employees, it's destroying us as a nation. So I am fully on board with this. And this is a business way of running things. This has nothing to, if I don't care who it is, you can get Calvin Coolidge and Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan and put them in a room and say, how do we fix this? And between the three of them, they'll probably say, we can't. It would take somebody like Elon Musk and Donald Trump to say, we don't know if we can, but we're going to try. I'm not saying that they're necessarily better than Reagan or Coolidge or Goldwater or anybody. I'm saying that for this situation at this time in American history, I would take President Trump over anybody. And I would take Elon Musk in that role over anybody. I don't know anybody I would take over him. There's probably better people that are maybe there's not. This is what we got. There's no need to speculate beyond that. So we have a role in this too, though. You and I have a role, because right now, legacy media is doing everything. I mean, everything they possibly can to subvert this. This is why, we mentioned that they keep saying constitutional crisis. They're just getting ahead of the narrative. They know that there is a constitutional crisis, and it's coming from leftist Democrat judges. But instead of saying that, they're having their media proxies, and they themselves, the politicians and everybody they can get, they're all saying the constitutional crisis is coming from the executive branch itself, not from the judiciary that is wrongfully and extra constitutionally subverting the executive branch, the power that is vested into President Trump. So yeah, let's before we get into the actual story, I want to play a couple of clips real quick. They're all short, but they all, I think, highlight what the Democrat Party has done. And to be clear, they're broken. Not by DOGE. They were broken before. They were broken from the election itself. And now that they are on top of being broken, they're also fearful of what could happen to them. You know, could it be exposed how they made millions of dollars on a $180,000 salary? Yeah, that seems like that's going to happen. Could they be exposed for their participation in wasting taxpayer dollars? Yeah, looks like that's going to happen. So they, on top of being broken by the election, they're also terrified of what could happen, of what will happen, Lord willing. So let's look at what it's doing to them. Here is squad member Ayanna Pressley, maybe saying more than she should have.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. But they are not serious.
It is important for the Democrats to censor the American people as much as possible. They need that to happen. What about Emmanuel Cleaver? I'll admit, I had no idea who Emmanuel Cleaver was until today, and now that I know who Emmanuel Cleaver is, I wish I didn't know who Emmanuel Cleaver is today. But since I had to watch this, you got to watch it too. And I'm sorry. I pray that you can make it through this.
Now, I'm going to be quick because I want to send a message to somebody. Elon, take your musty millions and musty Moscow rights to the moon. Because if you don't, we're going to stand up, we're going to speak out, we're going to march, we're going to do anything we need to do to make sure that the people of this country understand that the CFPB is for them. You get your musty hands off of our money or go to Moscow, you musty moon.
I am so sorry for making you watch that. I regretted it. As soon as he started screaming, I'm thinking, oh boy, I should have withheld that clip. That clip is going to... There's people are going to leave. Well, let's look at numbers. Yeah. While I played that, 3 people turned the video off. That's great. I'm sorry, but it had to be done. It didn't have to be done. I wanted to do it. I'll admit it. Last but not least, my favorite, top 3 favorite Democrats in the House of Representatives. The reason that she is one of my top 3 favorite Democrats is because she is an endless supply of dumb. Very few Democrats are able to, move that aside. Very few Democrats are able to be as damaging to their own party as much as Maxine Waters. Watch this.
The people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us. We don't know what all they have on us.
Oops. When they're rattled, and not just Democrats, anybody, when they're rattled, they tend to either lie badly or tell the truth. completely, even if it's a truth that they don't want to be known. Do I think that Presley really wants to censor people? Yes, I think that she does. Do I think that she meant to say that? No. She doesn't want to reveal that, but that's how she truly feels. That's how she truly feels. She wants me censored. She wants you censored. She definitely wants Elon Musk and Donald Trump censored. But really, it's about you and me. It's about the people. That's who she wants to censor. Do I think that Maxine Waters really wanted to say those final 9 words, which we thankfully, I forgot who did it, but thankfully we were able to slow it down so you could hear what those 9 words were? Do I think she meant to say that? No. Do I think that she meant it? That that's how she truly feels? You betcha. 99% certain that was a slip of the tongue in a truthful manner. Not, oh, she didn't really mean to say that. That's not what she was meaning. No, that's definitely what she was meaning. That's definitely what she's thinking. Her fears are coming out. Their fears are coming out. And all they can do is get in front of a microphone and scream, or go to social media and scream, or call up a judge and scream. That's all they can do. As Hakeem Jeffries said, they don't really have any power. I mean, the closest thing to the power they have is the filibuster in the Senate. Okay, well, we're just going to have to do some reconciliation there, I guess, to get the agenda pushed forward. We'll talk about that at another time. To answer the critics, those people that are saying, oh, you have reporters out there. There was I forgot what the line was. It was a funny line, but it was allegedly an accidental line in the movie Zoolander, I think is what it was called. And it was a line where Ben Stiller asks a question, and then somebody gives him a very detailed and accurate answer, and then he re-asks the same question. Supposedly it was an accident, but whatever. Either way, it made it into the movie, and it was hilarious. And that's sort of what legacy media does. It's like, it reminds me of the times when, how many times did President Trump had to disavow white supremacists back in the day? It's like, we literally just did that. We literally just said it. Yeah, but will you say it? It's like, I just did. Right, but will you say it? I mean, it was like, I don't even know what you would call that tactic. It was badgering is what it was. They badgered him. And now they're badgering us with the whole, does Elon Musk have proof? Does Elon Musk have proof? Or is he just going in there and saying, hey, cut USAID? And Trump's like, okay, let's go play golf. Elon's like, oh, I don't play golf. I just go to the moon. And Trump, I mean, I don't know if they're stupid or if they just think that everybody's a liar. Liars think that other people are liars, which is why legacy media and Democrats don't believe anything that President Trump ever says. Or Elon Musk, for that matter. Or me, for that matter. But somebody did ask, Carolyn Leavitt, who I think is quickly proving herself to be one of the most capable press secretaries that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm not just talking about, like capable as in like, oh, we like her because she gets Trump's message across. I'm saying she, at a super young age, was she 20-something, has been able to handle this so far, knock on wood, but so far she's been able to handle it like spectacularly. Pretty impressive. Here she is, doing what she loves to do best, bringing receipts.
In the Oval yesterday gave us some information on that. We're just wondering if there's some proof, evidence. Is the White House willing to share evidence of those fraud claims, or can Elon Musk come to the briefing room and share material evidence of what he's talking about?
Sure, I would love for Elon Musk to come to the briefing room. That's why we had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to DOGE. President Trump and Elon Musk have been incredibly transparent on what DOGE is doing. doing. There is an X account with the DOGE handle. They are tweeting out what they are doing on a daily basis. They have a website where they are posting the receipts of the contracts that they are reviewing and the payments that they have stopped from going out the door. The secretaries of our departments have stopped from going out the door. And I would also say that before it was Elon Musk making our government efficient and accountable, it was some unnamed bureaucrat that none of you knew. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's also now one of the most highly scrutinized men in the world alongside President Trump because of what he's doing and the access that he is allowing. So there's great transparency. As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOGE found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOGE identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one, $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing. These are the line items across the federal government that DOGE is identifying daily. They're moving very fast. There's a lot of paper that we can show you, but we're happy to do it. This administration has been more than transparent about what DOGE is doing. And here's one of their tweets that they posted about the mine. I believe this is in Pennsylvania, where the federal employee retirement system is being processed. Did anybody know this was even happening in our country before Elon Musk talked about it in the Oval Office yesterday? A lot of Americans didn't. So we are providing transparency and accessibility on a daily basis when it comes to DOGE.
Very well done. Very, very well done. Very impressed with her so far. Again, I learned today that she's married to somebody who's like in his 50s, which is great for them. Awesome for them. You know, people find love however they find love, and I'm good with that as long as it doesn't impose itself on anybody else. Discussion for another day. Let's see some of the other effects, and there are a lot of other effects. This is one, I'll just cover this briefly. This is one that caught my attention because it does sort of highlight what we've been saying. El Salvador's president notices anti-mining protest efforts shrink after USAID funding cut. So the implication here, obviously, is that USAID funding was used to empower eco-activists who are trying to fight mining. How in the world could that possibly benefit American citizens? Don't throw climate change out at me. I know that's their excuse. But something tells me that there's more to this. And this is one of the reasons I'm going to be covering here. And just, you already saw what Pam Bondi was saying as far as, oh, look, that's here's some receipts, here's some examples of waste. I hope that we don't, as a movement, I hope that we don't get too cozy, too obsessed even with highlighting the idiocy, because the dumb things out there that we're funding, they make for great fodder. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. It's funny, right? That they're doing this, and it's wasteful, and whatever. But there are real, massive implications to some of these things that aren't getting much attention. Let me explain that a little bit better, because I didn't say that right. There are the funny things out there, right? And when I say funny, there's nothing funny about wasting taxpayer dollars. But there are the things that are obviously, oh my gosh, let's highlight this because it's so stupid, right? But what about the things, what is USAID really there for? And we know, we've demonstrated, I think, on the show even, how USAID is basically the financing arm, the banker, so to speak, for the CIA. So when they go out and they want to to start a color revolution or a coup, when they want to make sure that another nation is doing what they want, and when I say, I've got to be clear, it's they, it's not necessarily the United States, it's whatever the CIA wants them to do, they find somebody who can help them to achieve their goal, and then they pay them off. And usually that payoff comes in the form of USAID funding some program that can benefit the people or entities that they want to control, they being the CIA, right? So just as a random example, this isn't a real world example, but let's say, they want to control opium in Afghanistan, right? And they've got the opium farmers there. The government controls them, but now they got Taliban there, so they got to figure out, how do we control this opium farmer? And they find out, okay, so Mr. Opium Farmer, what's it going to take for you to set aside whatever you need to set aside for us? And they'll say, $50,000. It's like, okay, done, but we can't just give you $50,000 because we got to, there's congressional oversight, there's whatever, people watching. So, we notice that you got a cousin, okay? You got a cousin in wherever, we'll say Damascus, and your cousin in Damascus, we're gonna fund a something that he's going to run, and we're gonna fund it for like $70K, and it's only going to cost like $5K for him to get his LGBTQIA opera up and running, but we're going to give him $70K through USAID. He's going to keep $15K to filter the money, and then you're going to keep the other $50, and then we're going to get our opium. Agreed? Agreed. Those programs, it's not just the waste. That's one thing altogether. But it's what is that waste by the CIA? What is that wasting of our dollars by the deep state? How does it empower them? How does it help them to control the situation? Those are the questions that we need answered. And I don't think we're going to get those answers. I wish we could, but I don't think we will. And I think we need to, unfortunately, just be satisfied with that ending. But it's important that you understand, that we all understand, that this is big. And it's bigger than just government waste. It's government evil that's taking place, using our taxpayer dollars to fund it. Now, would I love for that to be exposed? You betcha. But we're talking about an entity that has spent decades figuring out how to not get caught. And so, I don't think they will. There's too many degrees of separation. We're just going to, let's just shut down that opera in Damascus. Okay, done. Are we really going to question the guy that was running the opera and find out that his cousin is in Afghanistan, and that cousin runs opium to the United States? I don't know. I mean, we're not going to find that out. So we have to be happy with and satisfied with it just ending. That sucks, because I wish we could hold more people accountable as a result, but maybe, just maybe John Ratcliffe will be able to work it backwards, or Kash Patel with the CIA, that stops the current evil action. But if we don't get rid of the people who who engaged in or launched those evil actions in the first place, then at some point, whether it's now or in the future, or with the next president or the president after that, or whatever, or with an NGO or something, somehow the deep state is still going to be able to get what they need accomplished. So I would love to have answers to that. Unfortunately, I don't think we will. And a lot of that is our fault. It's my fault. Because I'll admit, as much as I would like to find, track down the connection between the Afghanistan farmer and the Damascus LGBTQIA plus opera owner, I would love to find those connections, but I too find that It's just a lot more enjoyable and stress-free if we focus on the wins and focus on the losses too. You know, we've got to expose both, but let's do what we can to try to stay as focused as possible on the core problems, not just the surface ones, which is a perfect segue for me to get into a funny video that just highlights some of the idiocy. It's not as good as Carolyn Leavitt's, but it's a lot funnier. So let's go there.
In case you missed it, here's the DOGE report for today. So where is our money actually being spent? Well, they found that $3 million is being used to study steroid-enhanced hamster fighting. I think you could just go to like a bar at night, watch a couple dudes get into it, and know what steroids will do for a fight, okay? $2.3 million has been used for studying cocaine effects on beagles. Why don't you just spend about $1,500, get yourself a Coachella ticket, get a lawn chair, sit back, watch. You'll understand what cocaine does to anyone. Coachella, just go there. $600,000 in parrot romance. That's important. It's definitely really important, actually. We'll keep that. $500,000 in racial aggression in mice. I'm sorry, do mice give a shit? They just want your food. They don't care if you're black, you're white, you're Asian. They don't care. They just probably want to get your food and your crumbs and in your house and on the streets and gross, okay? 1.1 million training mice to binge drink. Just go to UGA, pick a sorority house, pick a fraternity house, watch them on the weekends. They'll binge drink, study the effects after that. Free. Just again, lawn chair. See, I think we should just promote buying a couple of lawn chairs and go to a couple of these events. You'll get all the studies you need and willing participants. 2.1 million encouraging Ethiopians to wear shoes. That's effective for Americans, thank God. That's where our money is going. We know we can't buy groceries, but let's make sure those Ethiopians wear their shoes. I can't even get my kid to put their shoes on. Okay, can we maybe put a little money in that? Or sometimes I'm like, where's the other shoe? Why do you only have one? What happened to the second one? Okay. 187,000 verifying that kids love their pets. Unless you're raising Jeffrey Dahmer, your kids like their pets. It's just natural. Most people like pets more than like humans. I know, I do. 2.7 million studying Russian cats on treadmills. Why don't we take 2.7 million and try to encourage more Americans to use treadmills? Finally, 875,000 studying cocaine effects on quail mating. Again, lawn chair, sorority fraternity house, a good party. Watch what happens when cocaine enters the room. So in case you missed it, that is where your hard-earned dollars are going this week in the DOGE report.
That comes from Your Patriotic Bestie. I don't know if that's TikTok probably or Instagram or YouTube or whatever. It was posted to X by Elon Musk, and I think he was actually reposting it from Wall Street Apes. So just want to give proper attribution because that's funny stuff. Okay, I mean, probably pretty accurate, but funny stuff, and we did learn some things. Maybe. Anyway, let's get into one last. You know what? Let's do one last short break. And then we'll close it out with 7 examples that show why there is such a conspiracy to stop Elon Musk.
I have one kid. You have 5 kids.
That's what you.
How do you? That's incredible.
It's kind of like being an FBI agent. You're always kind of monitoring them and making sure everyone's safe.
Makes good sense. You know, I'm actually a real agent. Well, not an agent. I'm actually a deputy sheriff.
Are you really?
Right there. Many, many years.
Are you serious?
For real life, real life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're a sheriff.
Yep.
Played at Princeton. Pro football player. Greatest superhero of all time.
Never drafted to Major League Baseball like you with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much.
Knuckleballer. How do you hit a knuckleball?
You don't.
You don't.
You don't.
That's the whole point.
That was the beauty of it. You know, we may have always played on different sides, you know, being the superhero or the supervillain.
Supervillain.
But we have a lot more in common than I thought that we did.
Which is shocking, because one thing's for sure. Genesis Gold Group is a company that we both trust. They make safeguarding your IRA or your 401k as simple as possible. And I need simple,
That's right.
I'll be honest.
And with their stellar reputation, they're as solid as the gold that they sell.
Like this gold right here. So call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200 gold.
What is that?
This is what they call a prepper bar. So like you can break off these, see these little pieces? Oh, it's on both sides.
And it's great because you can carry that around small and.
Oh yeah,
it's
and
not
you can literally use it to spend.
Or it's not like this
things
one.
What?
This is a big fella. This is a really great one.
Is that real?
This is a real one. You want to hold it? It's heavy.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
That's pretty great. Yeah, you can get them one of those from Genesis Gold yourself.
Hey, you guys see this? Look, check
Dean,
this out.
Dean, that's my kid's college tuition money. Hold on, we'll be back. Dean!
Who's the supervillain now, huh?
Yeah, that's my goal, Dean!
Those guys, those crazy guys. All right. 7 examples that show why there is such a conspiracy to stop Elon Musk. You know, there is fear, palpable fear amongst those who are going to get exposed. And this is why they're trying everything they can. They're throwing anything up against the wall. You know, they're fighting tooth and nail. I pick out your favorite cliche about somebody who is extraordinarily desperate. Now multiply that somebody who is extraordinarily desperate, multiply that by probably at least tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people. For those who missed it earlier in the show, I had noted that there's a search term that is blowing up right now in Washington, D.C. For the last couple of weeks. There's been a tremendous spike in a search term, the searches for criminal defense attorney. That keyword is blowing up. I think there was another one that I thought was hilarious. It was non-extradition countries, which, again, I mean, they're scared. They really are legitimately terrified because they know. They know that what they've been doing is wrong. And we have to understand the scope and scale of this. It's not like you've got a few bad apples. We're talking like the way that they make it work is because they're all in on it. Vast majority of people in the bureaucracy, as well as people on Capitol Hill, are involved in some way, some form or fashion in the corruption. It's beyond waste. We're talking about they're getting something back from it. Or they're being blackmailed into participating, into keeping it pushed forward. Or there are those who maybe they're not receiving compensation, nor does their cousins didn't get some cush job somewhere, or they're not, there's not video of them doing something bad that's being held over them so that they will allow USAID to do its thing or whoever to do their thing. You know, there are even those who they know about it. They're not compromised, but they're not going to say anything about it because they realize that so much of this is going to hurt them if it were known. But my hope is that assuming that Elon Musk is able to do what he's doing, President Trump continues to do what he's doing, my hope is that we will start getting more and more whistleblowers, more and more people that will turn over evidence, more people that will say, hey, look, I'm a little fish in a big pond. If you keep me protected, I'll give you some bigger fish. I'm hopeful that the floodgates will open. We've seen this time and again. We've seen it over and over again. But this time, I think that it could be, I'm not saying it will be, but it could be the biggest overall scandal of all time. I think that we could see the dominoes truly start to fall. This isn't just about making the government more efficient. It's about, at least mostly, or at least partially, cleansing the government, the U.S. government, of so much evil. We haven't even discussed the tie-in. There is a distinct tie-in that I'll probably talk about in tomorrow's show. But there's a distinct connection between the corruption and the missing children. This is where we start getting into some crazy Pizzagate stuff. But I think that, as with so many conspiracy theories over the years, over the decades, we're going to find that whether it's Pizzagate and Podesta or whoever, whatever, they're going to find that a lot of this corruption, a lot of this waste, a lot of this evil happening in Washington, D.C. is not only made possible through blackmail that involves the hundreds of thousands, at least, if not millions, of children, but that it could also be driving it. In other words, this might not just be, hey, let's use the kids for this. It could be, hey, let's use the government corruption to continue the largest human trafficking ring in world history. It gets into some pretty evil concepts, and nobody's talking about it because it's not a topic that we want to talk about. It's not something. It's not in anybody's comfort zone, and if it is in your comfort zone, I'm kind of feel sorry for you. Nobody should be comfortable with what's happening. Nobody should be okay with it. I'm not talking about okay with it because they're participating. I'm saying if you're not participating and you're comfortable with it, not good. But I think that we could be on the verge of a true cleansing, purifying, whatever you want to call it, event here in the United States of America, in Washington, D.C. in particular. And it will change the nation. It will change the world if it does happen. And the powers that be, the powers and principalities, the globalist elite cabal, the Illuminati, the New World Order, the deep state, the who, whatever you want to call them, they are going to fight in every possible way. That's why, I really wish that President Trump would never go out in public. He was at the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh my gosh, just go home, get him out of there. All I can do is pray. All I can do, most of us can do, is pray for President Trump, pray for Elon Musk, pray for Pam Bondi, pray for Marco Rubio, pray for any of the people that are trying to do good in Washington, D.C., and there's so few of them. We are seeing what I believe to be one of the best cabinets, best administrations that has ever been put together. And I would argue that a good chunk of these pieces are being put forth because they're the right people just for this particular exact moment. Do I think that Kash Patel would be the best person to run a proper Federal Bureau of Investigations? Absolutely not. I think there are many better law enforcement officers who could run the FBI better if it wasn't systemically broken. Kash Patel is the person who can fix the FBI, who can reverse the decades of damage, who could actually make it into the Federal Bureau of Investigations. You don't need a great law enforcement officer for that. You need somebody who is fearless, who will fight corruption, who will recognize the horrible direction that the FBI has gone. So is Kash Patel the best law enforcement leader? No. Is he the best person to clean up the FBI? Absolutely. Are there better people to run HHS, better perhaps doctors, actual doctors to run HHS better than Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Absolutely. But is there anybody better suited and more motivated personally to truly, legitimately, absolutely reverse so many of the damaging things that are being done to us, done with our acceptance and acknowledgement, even when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to big food, when it comes to big pharma, when it comes to big ag? No, nobody's better than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He has spent his life, the greater part of his adult life, trying to expose the evils in So many things, whether it's bad things in our food, bad things in our vaccines, bad things in our pharmaceuticals, bad things in whatever. We don't need somebody who's going to sit there and, all right, let's go out and find the cure for AIDS. That's hopefully the next HHS guy or girl. But for today, we need RFK Jr. And you can say the same thing about up and down the board. Okay, those are two examples of how these guys are perfect for this moment. These guys are perfect for 2025. And I'm hopeful that DOGE is able to continue and to be the other beacon in a different direction from another perspective. And that as a result of their actions, as a result of all of their actions, that they are able to help with God's will. I hope that they can be vessels, be instruments. I hope that that's what this all means. Because the alternative is that they fail, that we fall under judgment, that we crumble as a nation, at which point it won't be because of them. It will be because it was just too much. And I'm not trying to fearmonger anybody into thinking that that's the case. We stay hopeful, we stay positive, we stay prayerful, and we move forward knowing that we got the best team with us. Now, let's bring it home. Sorry, quick rant. Let me get back into this article, which we started talking about and then stopped. 7 examples that show why there is such a conspiracy to stop Elon Musk. He is an existential threat to so much of the corruption in our government, and they will do whatever they can to stop him. This article comes to us from End of the American Dream by Michael Snyder. Politicians are screeching at the top of their lungs. There have been threats of extreme violence, and Washington, D.C. has never seen a tsunami of lawsuits of this magnitude. Amazingly, all of this is happening just because Elon Musk and his team are targeting waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal agencies. The left suddenly hates Elon Musk with a passion, and that is because he is coming after their money. It has now become clear that multiple federal agencies have been used as giant money laundering operations, and billions upon billions of dollars are at stake. If they cannot put an end to what Musk is doing, it will be an unmitigated financial and political disaster for the left, and many of them will likely end up in prison. The following are 7 examples that show why there is such a conspiracy to stop Elon Musk. Number 7, we'll go in. He's got it in 1 through 7. Well, we'll start with number 1. I like countdowns. Got to get a message to Michael Snyder. Do countdowns. Anyway, number 1. Last year, Medicare paid out more than $800 billion in benefits, and Social Security paid out more than $1.5 trillion in benefits. Unfortunately, it appears that vast amounts of money are being paid out through these programs fraudulently. In fact, Elon Musk is now claiming that the magnitude of the fraud in federal entitlements is greater than the combined sum of every private scam you've ever heard of by far. Pretty scary stuff there. Number 2, and I'm not going to read through the details. You can find this article, by the way, over at uncanceled.news. You can also find it over at discernreport.com. There's a link to it over at thelibertydaily.com. I put stories like this, I put them everywhere. I don't do that with all the stories, but in this particular case, I'm reading from uncanceled.news. Number 2, the Department of Education has always been a giant money-generating machine for the Democrat Party. And now Elon Musk has gone in and canceled nearly $1 billion in DOE contracts. And I would imagine that far more is going to be done. We're still waiting for McMahon to hop in there. My hope, and I think this has been expressed, my hope is that she is going to go in there, as President Trump said, and manage her way out of a job. In which case, I think she'll be fine. I think she's doing okay on the money side. So go in there, get rid of the Department of Education as quickly as possible, and then go back to wrestling. Number 3, Elon Musk has revealed that retirement. This is hilarious. Elon Musk has revealed that retirement paperwork for federal employees is stored 230 feet underground in an abandoned limestone mine in Pennsylvania. What? I'm sorry, but in many ways, that is hilarious. This is back in the 1950s when this popped up, and wow. And they don't mention in the article, but they had noted that the maximum amount of retirements that they can process in a month is approximately 10,000. And the reason for that is because they do it on paper by hand. Yeah, I'm all for analog, right? I tell people all the time, hey, don't just have your life situated in a way that if the internet and power and water go out, that you're not going to die, or that you're not going to have to rely on FEMA, because at least before, they ain't coming. Now we'll see. I mean, now it looks like FEMA's going to try to come now. Looks like FEMA's heading in the right direction all of a sudden. But either way, even if FEMA was perfect, you don't want to have to rely on them. You don't want to have to be reliant on the federal government in any form at all, ever. Can they help? Sure. But don't become reliant on them. And if you are reliant on them, do whatever you can to become unreliant on them. I'm not saying don't take anything from the government. I'm saying don't be forced to take anything from the government. Position your life in a way that would make you independent if and when that time comes. And I think it's going to come. Number 4, Elon Musk's team has discovered that $59 million was paid out last week to house migrants, illegal aliens, in luxury hotels in New York City. And to make it worse, we're talking about luxury hotels that have become basically ground zero for Agua. Okay, these are hubs for Venezuelan gangs, for nationals from multiple nations, for the gang members and criminal elements to flourish in New York City. Crazy stuff. Now, thankfully, Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, she was able to get that $59 million back. As she put it, she clawed it back. I don't know how hard it was, but I'm glad that she was able to get it done. Number 5, Elon Musk's team has also discovered that the Department of Health and Human Services had signed a $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH Museum. And I am not going to comment on that at all. I'm just going to leave that one there. Number 6. Do you remember that scene from Office Space in which 2 consultants named Bob ask employees what they actually do at a company? Well, it sounds like that is precisely what has been happening at the General Services Administration. And I'm going to read a little bit of this. This comes from I don't know where it comes from. It's from an archive. Probably Wall Street Journal or someplace. 3 General Services Administration employees, all of whom spoke to Politico anonymously, I guess it's Politico, anonymously out of fear of retribution, described their and their subordinates' recent interviews with Musk's DOGE agents as potentially career-ending, with federal employees feeling like every word they're saying could be grounds for future dismissal. I see nothing wrong with that. And if you haven't seen, I would recommend go watch that scene from Office Space where the guy's like, "I have people skills," being interviewed by the 2 Bobs. What a good movie. They don't make movies like that anymore. They just don't. The behind-the-scenes agency handles the federal government's real estate, software, and logistics, so Musk and his team's efforts to trim GSA could have a domino effect across the government. Imagine that. That is a feature. That is a benefit. That is not an accident. Number 7. On top of everything else, Elon Musk says that the Federal Reserve could soon be audited by DOGE. And hopefully it's done by Ron Paul. I know he's 84 or whatever. I just want to see. I just want to see it. Okay, that'd be so epic, so amazing, so wonderful to see Ron Paul auditing the Federal Reserve on behalf of President Trump and Elon Musk. That would be amazing. That would be like a bucket list item. If I had thought that it was possible, I would have put it on my bucket list. I just assumed it wasn't possible. Very similar to Roe v. Wade. Look, I didn't have overturning Roe v. Wade on my bucket list before the leak because I didn't think it was possible. We're living in a time, though, when I think anything really legitimately, truly is possible. I don't think we're being held back by anything at all. I think that as long as we as a nation, as long as we embrace God's will, as long as we maintain a certain level, I don't know what the number is or what the quota is, but as long as enough of us stay faithful, that maybe we can withhold judgment against us. Maybe we can, and we don't deserve it. Just the children, missing children alone, that's enough to where we as a nation should burn in fire and brimstone across the board. Not because any of us participated in it, but because, sort of a corporate punishment. Because that is a degree of evil that is, you get the idea. So I'm not saying that we don't deserve judgment, but maybe, just maybe, if we are able to do the Lord's will and to be faithful and to pray always, read our Bibles, spread the gospel, maybe, just maybe, we can be okay. Maybe judgment can be withheld. And I know, I've expressed myself that I'm okay. I'm okay with going at any time. As a matter of fact, I'm not saying I'm suicidal because I'm definitely not, but sooner the better as far as I'm concerned. I am super excited about what's to come. But with that said, I also acknowledge that we want to keep going, right? Human nature to want to keep going. I want America to keep going. I want America to be successful. I want America to lead the world, not because I'm necessarily concerned about the rest of the world, but as an America First person, I know that if we're leading the world, then there's just less that we have to be concerned about with the world. That makes sense? Do I want our military anywhere else? Absolutely not. I don't, unless it's totally needed somewhere based upon full-blown agreements and we're getting something out of it. And even if we're getting something out of it, it's still not enough in most cases. Look, President Trump is talking with Vladimir Zelensky about possibly even, basically being paid off with $500 billion worth of rare earths. That's great. Is it worth the money that we've sent already? No. I would have rather just not sent anything and give him, bought the rare earths with cash later after, the dust settles. So no, it's not worth it to send aid in exchange for that. But I'm glad that we're at least talking about that as a possibility. Compensation for all of the aid that we have wasted, that we've burned. And if you want to, Tucker Carlson has been on fire lately about that, talking about how so much of the quote unquote aid that we're giving, over half, he says, of the weapons that we've given to Ukraine have just hit the black market, been sold back to the cartels to be used against us. Is that where you want your tax dollars going? Do we really think that Ukraine's going to beat Russia? Or, and perhaps the more important question, do any of those neocons in Washington, D.C. think that with our help, that Ukraine could beat Russia? No. None of them think that. Zero. Because you'd have to be stupid to think that with the information they have available to them on Capitol Hill or in the bureaucracy, they have enough information, there's enough talk around there to realize to where they are all very, very well aware that Ukraine cannot and will not beat Russia, which tells us that all this push has never been about helping Ukraine win. It's about helping Ukraine not lose so they can prolong the war, so there can be more suffering in Ukraine and everybody can make a lot more money. This is why we need DOGE. This is why we needed Donald Trump. This is why we need to pray to God that they're able to continue. They're able to expose as much as possible. We need to give them discernment. We need to give them support. We need to give them our prayers. As long as we don't have to give them our money. I know, I'm cheap. All right, that's it. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.